My name's Robert McCormack. I've recently just graduated from the Glasgow School of Art from the painting and printmaking department. I graduated in 2020, so I didn't get a degree show. But I'm really excited to be having a show at the Scottish Arts Club in July 2021. Since the pandemic, I've moved to Inverness. I've got a studio in my parents' garage, and I've been working at a local high school with children with additional support needs. So I've been making these works since 2018 when I was on exchange in Canada. And initially they came out of a larger body of work which kind of centered around research around the child, the figure of the child. I was kind of pulling on quite a lot of queer theory, gender studies, and I made a lot of sculptural work, drawing work, installation, performance. And these were one sort of set of sculptural works which I developed in my time there. And pretty much every year since, I've made a new set of these works. So the first works were taken from onesies found in second-hand shops. And the second set I made in Glasgow from a similar material. But they had slightly different kind of patterns and brands and labelling. And then this recent set, which was selected by the Scottish Arts Club, I started making them out of waterproof material. So the sort of waterproof onesies which I zip up and tape the hands and the legs, turn inside out, and then I pour plaster inside them. When it dries, or when it hardens, I have to cut the onesies off, and they sort of leave the indentation of branding and material. And I think these kind of recent ones, they sort of remind me of kind of classical sculpture, which you might see in the Renaissance or something like this. So I think they're kind of quite interesting, and you can sort of change their forms in the way that you cast them. So I often cast one part and then I'll let it set a little bit, and then I'll cast another part. And that kind of, when one part is sort of hard and another part is soft, it kind of changes how they sit, I suppose. And a lot of the works are designed to sit on materials or around objects. So I'm kind of hoping that some of the works will be able to sit on the seats or be scattered around the space in the show. For my degree show, I did a lot of work on this idea that children and dogs are maybe quite similar, which, I mean, is a kind of crazy sort of thesis, but, you know, I guess from working in schools and also having a dog, it's quite interesting. You know, you might be in school and you're trying to get a kid to do something, and you might say, you know, if you do this, you'll get a merit. You know, it's kind of like a reward system, or the whole education system seems to be based around rewards. And then I might go home and try and make my dog, you know, do a trick or something for a biscuit. You know, so there's kind of a real crossover, I think, in this sort of reward and even punishment systems. And so, you know, when I'm working in the schools, I try not to use reward or punishment as much as possible. But, you know, it's quite hard not to. I mean, that's the system that you live in. But even when you go down to like children's products, I mean, children's food, the sort of shape of children's food looks a bit like dog's food. You know, the onesies of children look a bit like the jackets that you get on dogs. Children's bowls and dogs' bowls are almost kind of indiscernible. And so I was almost sort of trying to think about the pet as an extension of the nuclear family. So a lot of my work at my degree show was kind of around that. The sort of crossover of signals between the dog and the child. So I think, you know, this work isn't sort of directing anybody to that, but I think there's a lot of similarities, maybe crossovers. Yeah, as an artist, I quite like traditional materials. I mean, I know my work doesn't always look sort of traditional or what you might expect, but I do quite like, you know, clay, plaster, paint, charcoal. You know, they might use found objects in what they refer to, but, you know, I do quite like to stick to, yeah, quite expected modes, I suppose, of making. And yeah, I mean, the works are never sort of directly, they're not sort of direct in what they're talking about, but I do think they do hold a lot of meaning, or refer to quite a lot of different things. I think, or I'd like to think that people get quite a lot out of looking at the works. It's almost like they don't need to be kind of explained. I think they have a lot going for them. And I don't really like to explain things too much. I mean, there's things going on that I could definitely point to, but I kind of like to leave it a little bit more open. I mean, I'm quite specific, actually, in how they look. They might look quite sort of organic and natural, but I am quite specific. I have a lot of rejects as well, actually. A lot whose form doesn't quite work out, or the plaster doesn't set properly, or air bubbles and things like that. So what you'll see in the exhibition is quite curated on my part.